Hi. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight is going to be bookish content. So before we get started, I do want to let you guys know I am testing this new space out. I don't know which video I'm posting first. It might be my zoo vlog, so if you've already seen that, you kind of know what's up. If you haven't seen that, hi, hello. I'm originally from Chicago, but I have moved to Philadelphia. My stuff is here, it's just still in boxes because I need shelves and stuff, so hopefully in the future this background is going to be a bookshelf. The room is still kind of echoey, it's still a little hollow, so I don't know how the camera is, I don't know what sounds the camera's picking up. So excuse any of that, we're in a trial run. But moving on, we are doing the video that I do every year around this time of year, and that is the mid-year book freakout tag. As of filming this, I have read 26 books. I am 4 books away from my reading goal, which is great. So that's really exciting, but let's jump right into the questions. So question number 1, the best book that I've read so far this year, and that is going to be Go Down Together, The True Untold Story of Bonnie and Clyde by Jeff Gwynne. If you don't know who Bonnie and Clyde are, they were a famous criminal couple back in, I want to say, the late 20s, early 30s, gave a lot of excitement during the Great Depression here in the States. And basically this book discusses the actual truth about them, because in the past, when they were alive, the news was making them a lot better than they really were. Movies were romanticizing them, and this is just the gritty truth. This is my favorite book. I was so encaptured by their story for some reason. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was just interesting learning that these two were actually terrible at their job of being criminals. I thought they had these huge bank heists going into this, but turns out carjacking was their thing, and they would rob like small mom and pop grocery stores or gas stations and the like, and they were just terrible at it. They got caught constantly. I also really like learning the reason we know them today is simply because of Bonnie's existence. I thought that was kind of funny. And there are 2 main reasons I love this book so much. First, how much I actually learned and retained. Usually when I read nonfiction, it's like fun learning in the process, but I forget so much like a month later because it's so much new information that my brain has to go through, but I still remember like plenty of this book. And then the second reason I like it so much is because it actually got me to really feel for Bonnie and Clyde. By going through their whole history, I truly saw why they did what they were doing. I'm not saying what they did was right, because they did do some pretty heinous things, and I don't want to say they were good people, but I understand how they got to where they were. And just reading about that shootout, I actually felt really bad for these two, especially Bonnie, with the way it was described and the sequence of events. It made me want to travel to all the places they traveled to. I think their car is in Las Vegas, like the actual car they died in. And I have a morbid curiosity about that, and I would love to go to Las Vegas to go see that. And Bonnie and Clyde apparently have a musical that I should also listen to. However, it was only on Broadway for 1 day. That is really sad and embarrassing. Number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far this year, and I am going to go with the Demon Slayer manga in general. So I've seen this anime, I love this anime so much, but I wanted to read the manga, and I want to finish it before I catch up with season 3, just because I'm very impatient right now. I read the first 8 volumes so far this year. Also, I didn't say what the series is about. If you don't know what this series is about, this takes place in a universe where demons are hunting and eating humans, and one day our main character Tanjiro's family gets attacked. His sister gets turned into a demon, so he joins the Demon Slayer Corps in order to find a way to turn her back into a human. It's one of those series where, yes, the plot is kind of generic. However, I do love the characters more so than I love the plot, and to me, it's the characters that are pushing it forward. And the artwork, I'm of the unpopular opinion that I think the artwork is fine, and I really like, a lot of people don't really like it, but I actually like the sketchbook feel the authors got going on. And I've cried during multiple volumes, so that's why it's the best sequel series I've read so far in 2023. Question number 3, a new release you haven't read yet but want to. I don't really keep up with new releases, so I kind of had to pull an answer out of my ass for this one. I'm just gonna say the new chapters of Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo, I think his name is. I haven't even actually started this manga. I just really love this anime, and it's ongoing, and it's gonna be ongoing for a while, so I just want to eventually catch up. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. It's funny that I said I typically don't keep up with new releases because I actually have an answer for this one. And it's going to be Azula and the Spirit Temple. But this is a comic book in the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. Azula was one of the main villains of the original TV show. There's a whole comic series that takes place after immediately after the TV show, and she does show up in 2 of them. I'm really excited for this one because she's my favorite villain of all time, but she's one of my favorite characters in general. And I'm really, I don't want to say excited, I'm really intrigued by her direction. Ever since those last 2 episodes of the show, I am of the opinion that a redemption arc is possible for this character. I know it's very controversial. Whether or not she deserves a redemption arc is a huge, it's a touchy subject in the fandom. There's just so much I want for this character. Even if she doesn't have a redemption arc, I'm okay with like a healing arc of sorts, or if she just becomes an anti-hero. I don't want her to remain a villain. I think it's getting stale and old because I have mixed feelings about her in the comics that came out before this, because in The Search, I was okay with her direction because obviously, like, you need development if you're gonna have any type of redemption arc or whatever. Like, you're not gonna heal overnight. So I was okay with her in that comic. But in Smoke and Shadow, I was really disappointed that she was just the main villain once again because it's old, we've seen it before, and she felt like a Scooby-Doo, like a generic Scooby-Doo villain in that comic. And I just feel like the writer for those comics just didn't know what to do with her, so he shoved her in the only box he knew. And making her out to be this villain just feels forced, just because in the original TV show, she was very smart about everything she did. She had a very Machiavellian way of doing things. She always clearly thought out what she was doing, so that way, like, yes, I disagreed with her actions. Her actions were bad and evil, but I understood how she got there. Whereas I feel like she's not as smart in the comics, and like her intelligence is what made her such a compelling villain or just character in general. However, this comic does have new authors, so I will say I am excited to see what they're going to do with her. A lot of people think she's going to have a redemption arc for this. Whether or not she deserves it, who knows? At the end of the show, I don't want to say she deserved it because she still has so much growth to do before she deserves anything. I just think it's possible, which is a different statement. People often get the 2 statements confused. If we're talking about Azula immediately at the end of the original TV show, yes, I thought a redemption arc was possible, but seeing what they were doing with her in the comics, which are considered canon, I thought it was obviously not gonna happen. So that's why, long-winded, I'm saying this multiple times, but that's why I'm very excited, intrigued, interested, whatever, in her direction in this comic. Will she or will she not have a redemption arc, a healing arc? Will she or will she not become, I don't want to say a hero, I don't think she's ever going to become a hero, but will she become an anti-hero, which I will be perfectly okay with? Or is she just going to remain just this evil villain? If you're going to keep her an evil villain, at least make her smart, not like she was in the other comics. Make her a fun character again. I was just so disappointed in her direction in the other comics. I'm actually glad new authors are taking over just to see new ideas. I'm gonna be very upset if I end up not liking it because she is my favorite character and I just want to see like good writing for her once again. Next question, the biggest disappointment you've read so far this year. I'm gonna talk about 3 books just because they are one series, but those are the Tokyo Ghoul light novels by Shin Towada. I love the original manga by Sui Ishida. If you don't know what Tokyo Ghoul is about, I feel like I've said the summary so many times on this channel. But just in case you're new here, if you don't know what Tokyo Ghoul is about, it takes place in a universe where ghouls run amok. They are scary because they eat humans. However, they can easily disguise themselves as human. And one day our main character, Kaneki, has an organ transplant that makes him half human and half ghoul. And now that he can understand both sides, he wants to live in a world where these 2 species can coexist. The 3 light novels are called Day, Void, and Past. I was just disappointed in this because Tokyo Ghoul to me is a masterpiece. It is a 5 out of 5 star manga for me. However, these light novels were just not that entertaining. First of all, these light novels are made up of short stories, and I did think it was interesting at first how all the short stories connected in a sense. Void did it the best. I only gave Void 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I gave Days 3 out of 5 stars, and I gave Past 2.5 out of 5 stars. My main gripe is that you could definitely tell it's a different author. His writing style does not match Sui Ishida's. And there was a lot of telling and not showing that I didn't really like. And he was kind of just beating us over, or she, I don't know what gender the author is, but they were just beating us over the head with the morals and what we just couldn't draw our own conclusions, and that kind of drove me nuts, because at least with the manga you can make your own inferences, you can have your own interpretations, whereas this one, they told you what you had to believe, they told you what you had to get out of the story. They wouldn't let you ask your own questions, if that makes sense. They weren't fun. I was expecting them to be a lot more fun and a lot more intriguing, but they weren't. There were like stories here and there that I really, really liked, but the majority of them wasn't really a fan. Very disappointed given how much I love Tokyo Ghoul the manga. Number 6 is the biggest surprise, and I'm gonna mention Go Down Together again just because I was really shocked how much I liked this piece of nonfiction. Nonfiction isn't my go-to genre in the first place, but I already mentioned earlier what I love so much about this book, and I just wasn't expecting all of that, which is why it's the answer for this question. Number 7 is favorite new author or favorite new to you author, and I actually just yesterday or just a few days ago, I actually finished reading Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. So I'm gonna go with her for this question. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I loved how personal this book felt. I feel like Zora Neale Hurston did a great job making all the characters relatable in a sense where you could just feel like they feel like real people. I didn't feel like I was reading a book. I felt like I was reading about a real person's life. And I really like the use of dialect when it came to the dialogue itself. I feel like that's what made it so personal, and I just loved it so much. And I need to look into more of Hurston's writing. Number 8 is newest fictional crush. This was kind of hard because I actually read mostly non-fiction this year, or if I read something, you know, like the Tokyo Ghoul books or the other Death Note manga I was reading, they were characters I already read about from years prior, so I had very few options. I am going to cheat a little and go with Giyu Tomioka from Demon Slayer. I'm cheating because I have been introduced to this character for years now because of the anime, but this is the first time I'm reading about him. And he's one of my favorite characters from the anime. My 2 favorite characters are Giyu and Shinobu. So I'm gonna go with him for this just because it's the first time I'm reading about him, not watching him. But he's hot and he's the quiet type. What more can I say? So number 9 is newest favorite character, and I'm gonna go with the Phantom from The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This is the book that the famous musical is based on, and it takes place in an opera house in the late 1800s, and people suspect that a phantom haunts it, and he's basically taking possession of this new opera singer, and it's a great book. It's written like a dissertation, which I wasn't expecting, and I really, really liked that. But he's my favorite character in that whole book because despite not being a good person, I was still falling for his tricks. He was such a well-written character because you're not supposed to root for him, but the way he was written, he's supposed to be a very manipulative person, and I felt manipulated as the reader. And that takes some amazing writing, so great character in my book. Number 10, a book that made you cry. A lot of books made me cry this year, so I'm just gonna list them. A few volumes of Demon Slayer made me cry. Their Eyes Were Watching God made me cry at the end when Janie was talking about her love for tea cake. The book They Caged the Animals at Night by, who was the author? Jennings Michael Birch. That's a memoir about his time in the foster care system, and that book destroyed me. I was sobbing by the end of it. And again, Go Down Together by Jeff Gwynne. And for all these books, I cried for different reasons, whether the scene was really sad, happy tears, contentment, bittersweet. I cry for I'm a big baby. I cry for everything. Number 11, book that made you happy. I reread Strega Nona by Tommy De Paola, I think his name is. So this is a children's book, and it's about a witch who has a bowl that makes pasta. She leaves it to Big Anthony and tells him don't mess with it, but Big Anthony messes with it anyway. I forgot all about this book until one day I was going through some Facebook post that was about nostalgia, all the books we used to buy at the book fair, and this was in it, and I was like, oh my god, I recognize that character. Where do I recognize her from? So I checked it out from the library, I had to read it, and it just made me remember my childhood. And I actually remember, I cannot remember which grade, but I remember at some point just sitting down with the class as the teacher read it to us, and then later going through it myself so I could see the pictures. We love nostalgia. For once, I'm happy. I read a lot of sad, bittersweet books this year, a lot of hard-hitting books. This is definitely one of the happier ones. Number 12 is the most beautiful book you bought this year. Thankfully, I'm filming this now because I bought the most beautiful book 1 week ago, I think it was. I decided I'm going to start reading the Jujutsu Kaisen manga because Olivia Savannah over at Olivia's Catastrophe is reading it. She tagged me in a post and I'm like, I should read that with you. So I bought it. It's in one of these boxes, so I'm not going to pull it out, but I'll put a picture up. I really like how this looks and how the colors go together and the style of the art itself. it's a great time. Finally, the last question are books that I still need to read. I have a whole list of books I still need to read. I'm just gonna read them off because first of all, I need to finish Demon Slayer. Again, I've read 8 volumes so far. There's 23 in total. I have some current reads going on right now. I'm still reading Arabian Nights from last year. I'll read a story and then go months without touching it. And then another current read is Mommy Dearest, which I have been reading since 2021. But I am determined to get it done this year. I just keep putting it on the back burner. I read the book Sempre earlier this year, and I've been meaning to read the sequel, even though I only gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. But I do want to read the sequel. That's been sitting on my Kindle since January, so I have to read that or else it was a waste of money. I want to read Tomie by Junji Ito. The Last Good Indian. I don't have that author on hand right now. It's either Needless Things or Needful Things by Stephen King, because that's been sitting on my shelves for years. Jack and Rochelle by Jack Sutton and Rochelle Sutton. Yellow Star by Jennifer Roy, and Outwitting the Gestapo by Lucy Albrecht. But those are all the books I want to read, and therefore that is the end of this tag. It's just nice seeing where I'm at and trying to realize that I really do need to catch up with some reading goals I have this year. I have not been doing well in my goals, but it's fine. It's been a busy year. I had a lot of bombshells dropped on me in the beginning of the year, and then I had this big move. If I have any international viewers, I did have to move. Not only did I move cities, but I moved states. So it was a very big move and it was very stressful. So that being said, that is it for this video. Let me know your thoughts down below, what your favorite books so far this year, what your worst books so far this year. But on that note, make sure you guys subscribe, like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. I'm forgetting my intro today. I'm forgetting my outro. Girl, I'm trying, y'all. I'm gonna peace out and I'll see you guys later. Ciao, tutti.